Tuesday, April 24th. If you have any of your plant papers hanging around and you want to separate them from you, I will gladly take them. Otherwise, they can head to the recycle bin, or you can give them to Grandma to put on a refrigerator. If you were absent yesterday, we want to make sure you get an opportunity to finish up your test. So please let me know. Outcomes are switching over to fungi. So we want to be familiar with anatomy and classification and roles of fungus in the ecosystem. We'll be interacting with text and video and specimens and microscopes and dissecting scopes and online resources. So today, hopefully, you can walk away with knowing at least one type of fungi, probably ones you may have noticed living around you, since we're in the Pacific Northwest, which is a very rich fungi environment. Start to understand what fungi have in common, what makes something a fungus. We'll watch a short video, we'll read some text, we'll interact with fungi a little bit. So I'm going to really quickly go over the highlights of each of the slides that you see. The purpose of it is just to kind of front load a little bit about what you'll be encountering. This is not instructional in terms of lecture with notes or anything like that. Just kind of kick back, let's prime your brain a little bit about what's to come. So, why was the mushroom always invited to parties? The classic line, because he was a fungi. Fungus for years, humans thought fungi were a form of plants. They look a bit like a plant. They grow on the ground like plants. So we're going to go through this list and identify what characteristics, eukaryotic, multicellular, made of chitin, and heterotrophic, apply to fungus that don't apply to plants. Some fun facts about plants. You can slow down the video, pause the video to read over them on your own. Making sure we, on this slide, know the difference between hyphae and mycelium. I relate it to a plate of spaghetti. And the whole plate itself you refer to as spaghetti, but when you pull one piece of spaghetti out, you often refer to it as a noodle. So think of hyphae and mycelium that way. Hyphae being the noodle and the mycelium being the whole plate of spaghetti. The idea that digest then ingest of a fungus. When you eat something, you ingest it, you take it inside of your body and digest it there, where fungi work the opposite. They digest things outside of their body and then absorb them or ingest them in, so it's kind of different. Related to like sweating. A human sweats water to cool. Well, think of a fungus releasing enzymes, much like when we talked about our digestive unit, pepsin or amylase. Well, fungi might release other enzymes outside of their body, kind of like we sweat in order to digest materials and then absorb it back in. So there's a lot going on in the soil around us. The three ways that fungus make a living: saprophyte, parasite, symbiote. So you can pause that and look more closely if you want. One of the first groups, Basidiomycota, classic toadstools belong in this group. You see pictures like this in books all the time, or maybe a picture like this. I do want to mention the interesting state of a fungi's life cycle. We talk about alternation generations with plants, haploid, diploid, haploid, diploid, but fungus exists also in a state called dikaryotic, in which their single cell can have two separate nuclei existing at the same time. In most cases, those fuse together. Or the DNA or genetic information contained in a single nucleus, but not so with fungi. They can be. There's a time where they can be separate. So there's actually three interesting states in their life cycle. Ascomycota, yeast, an example. So here's another group of sac fungi. Zygomycota. This is what you see with breads and cheese molds. Something pretty common in our lives. Mycomycota, we're looking at lichens. Deuteromycetes includes penicillin, or antibiotics, but also you get ringworm and athlete's foot from that group. So they act as decomposers. They are beneficial in food and medicine, but they can be somewhat detrimental. Parasites, and some are toxic, or many are toxic. We're going to hop over and look at the cordyceps fungus video online, 3 minutes from the BBC. and then also introduce to you the fungus tank. That thing, as you enter and exit the room, we're going to predict what might happen, and if you're invited to add things to the tank, as long as you let me know ahead of time what's going in, so I can monitor and make sure that there's nothing that could cause harm going in there. And then we'll hop over to CK12, get you set up on your CK12 assignment for the week, and you'll get time to continue that. And there's our day.